Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. Welcome to our webinar. We are just going to give it another minute or so for folks to join, get a quorum here. So please just hold tight, get your coffee, water, whatever you want, and we'll get started in about 30 seconds. All right. Looks like we've got a good crew. Let's jump right into it. Yes, thank you everyone for joining today. We are talking today around unlocking tacit knowledge and a pragmatic path to faster and smarter incident management, hoping that you all leave some really tangible takeaways to bring back to your organization. We are just going to do a quick introduction and some housekeeping items. Then we're going to talk a little bit around just some of the challenges that come up when you're missing knowledge and experiencing some of that chaotic collaboration during your incident response process. Then really introduce the role of tacit knowledge and feedback loops and talk about how that really can augment your incident management process and teams as a whole, including a live demo from Travis here to show you what that really looks like in the BigPanda platform. And then we want to talk about how to get started really today, right? How can we break this down? This can be a little bit daunting to take on an AI agentic capabilities, and we want to really break that down and make it actionable and reasonable for you. So Cam will walk us through that. And so I'm Katie Petrillo. I'm Senior Director of Product Marketing here at BigPanda. I will be kind of, holding court and moderating our session today, but then I also have Travis Carlson and Cameron Stone here. Travis, I'll let you introduce yourself first.
Thanks, Katie. Yeah, my name is Travis Carlson, and I'm the Senior Product Manager for AI products here at BigPanda. So I'm working with our AI Incident Assistant, Biggie, as well as our incident prevention products.
I'm Cameron Stone. I'm a Director of Professional Services here. I've been working exclusively in service management and AI ops for the last 15 years, and I've got about 25 years experience being an administrator and working in IT in general. So I want to show you how to apply everything you're going to learn today from a services standpoint.
Awesome. Thank you both for joining. I know you're very busy, and for those attending, you're in for a treat because this is quite a dynamic duo. So with that, let's jump right in. I want to talk a little bit about just some of the things that we're seeing in the market and seeing across our various enterprises when it comes to incident management, and some of the things that really stood out to us. We did some research last year with an organization, and a couple things really stood out to us, and these are things that we were thinking of as we're really developing this product and this platform. And number one is really just around the pain that comes with, incident management processes and collaborating and communicating, bringing teams together. You would think that it would really be more on the response side and the context, but one of the biggest challenges is just around team assembly, right? Getting the right folks in the room, being able to do so really quickly, having making sure it's actually the relevant teams versus everyone. So that collaboration piece, which folks can certainly take for granted, tends to be something that is one of the biggest pain points that we're really hearing. And then once that obviously takes a toll, the longer it takes for your teams to sort of get up and running, assemble, is obviously kind of then the clock starts ticking as far as like, now we have the folks in the room, let's start figuring out that response. Another thing that really wowed me when I saw this stat was just around the amount of that working time, right? That MTTR time that is really truly just spent wasted with folks actually just waiting for information, trying to figure out who is the right person that they should be contacting. Like, these are very valuable minutes when you have a service down and you have customers that are complaining and ultimately revenue being on the line. Yet so much of that time is just, sitting on your hands, trying to, waiting for some information from somebody else. So that is really, to me, a very staggering number to see that, 1 in 4 people are saying that 50% of their MTTR is spent just waiting. Like that is something that is definitely addressable, and we'll certainly be talking about. And that's, this is all, both of these are so important because, the longer it takes your teams to assemble, and the more time that they just spent waiting rather than acting, that means, more issues are coming up from your end users. And that's really something we're still seeing, is that everyone, many of you on the call are likely sitting here trying to figure out, how do I get more of my incidents to be detected from the observability tools and the monitoring tools that I have, and not be coming in from end users. And the reality is those end user complaints and tickets are still significantly high, and much higher than anyone wants them to be. So I know many of you are trying to sort of change that balance to be more coming from observability and not coming from end user tickets. So hopefully we can talk about that. And really, when we talk to some of the enterprises that we work with, we hear a lot about just some of these sort of like, what I'm kind of saying are systemic challenges that exist in a lot of these longstanding incident management processes that have been stood up, and are somewhat outdated at this point, given the complexity and dynamics of the of the infrastructure and the tools that are being used. And it's just really resulting in the incident management process being extremely frustrating and time consuming, and really not as, very much a productivity drain for everyone that is actually involved. And some of the key things that we're seeing here, I think one of the biggest ones is just this sort of missing or lost institutional knowledge, information that, one specific really experienced operator or L2 has in their brain, but they're on PTO this week, so they're not going to be able to step in, or things that end up getting documented, end up getting resolved on maybe a Zoom call, but don't actually make it into any sort of documentation, or, certain things, resolution steps or things that were taken and put in a certain JIRA, but that's not actually brought into sort of your organization's kind of knowledge fabric, if you will, that then gets used for the future. It's just out there, but no one knows how to access it. That's not helpful for someone who is looking to resolve an incident. And so that leaves your teams really spending their time manually digging for information. That's where we get a lot of this waiting time. They don't maybe even know who to contact. They don't know where to find certain information, or they are spending time logging in. They don't have access to that login, so they have to track that down. So this is just a very tedious and manual process to really try to find all of this, not just institutional know-how, but even sort of the documented information. It might be siloed and they don't even really know how to find it. So there's just, a lot of cramming for answers in a really, stressful, time constrained environment. And then layer on top of that, really this chaotic collaboration that, many of your major incident managers are dealing with, where they're trying to get a bridge call stood up, a channel stood up, get folks that are on call involved. And if they don't know, if they don't have a clear understanding of what is the impact of this, which teams are impacted, who actually owns the root cause of this, or don't have all of that context, their collaboration efforts are stunted, right? And so there's a lot of time spent really tracking down all of this information that is really, again, part of that wasted effort. And while this is all part of, we know it's frustrating. None of those folks want to be, involved in some of these, hours, days long bridge calls. But at the end of the day, this is impacting the bottom line, right? There's all of these inefficiencies that are happening that add up when you have, 100 engineers on a bridge call. That is a very expensive bridge call. And those folks are not working on what they should be, whether that is some sort of strategic innovation or keeping, really delivering on the next latest product release, whatever that might be. That all adds up and has a cost. Well, at the same time, your customers are frustrated because they can't, pay for something. They can't access a service. So they're very frustrated. They start to look at competitors, and then in turn, that has impact on your revenue. So, when customers start actually abandoning what they're doing with your organization and start to look at other solutions, that's really when the rubber meets the road. And so I think it's, we're talking very much around the IT operations and the incident management process, but this has a very significant impact on the business itself. And we really want to talk about today just around how you can evolve beyond that and kind of different ways of thinking to solve for some of these challenges. And where I really want to start with that is really talking about the the data that has traditionally been at the hands of these IT operations and incident management teams, ITSM teams, has really been, machine level data, operational data, data that is kind of shining a laser focus or a laser light on, specific events that are supporting a specific application or service or piece of the network, but it's not necessarily telling you the broader impact on the entire infrastructure. And also it's not necessarily including some of the just like more tangible or qualitative information around what's going on. You might get a certain alert, but it's not, again, giving you some of that deeper level context of like, oh, we've actually, this type of alert has occurred in the past, and we've seen this before. It's just really giving you very structured data that is hard to piece together when you don't have the kind of understanding of where it fits into the big picture, right? Same thing with changes. You may be getting, seeing changes coming through, but again, you don't necessarily know the impact on other, shared infrastructure or services. And so again, that kind of makes it challenging to be able to see that big picture. And then of course the CMDB is, that all that structured data lives in that CMDB, but we know there's a lot of challenges there of just kind of really being able to create an accurate and updated kind of picture and mapping of all of those dependencies with such complex systems and things that are evolving constantly. So this has sort of created or, lent itself to both the fragmented and siloed sort of data and teams that we're seeing today, and also has just not necessarily created a holistic view of an incident. However, when we start to think about agentic capabilities and AI, we open up a lot of opportunity to take advantage of the significant processing that AI offers, that you don't have to be just confined to all of those rule-based alerts and data that typically goes into that CMDB. You can really expand to some of this more unstructured data, the data that has, and the knowledge that has that less structured or completely unstructured, just sort of what someone wrote in a ticket that provides context on how something was resolved the previous time, or, understanding of how they actually, the steps that they took to restore that service. Those are the meaty things that when you're looking to investigate an incident that allow you to, improve that response time that is not available in this bottom layer. And so with that agentic capability, you can really start to bring in some of this institutional knowledge, whether that is service desk history, bringing in some of those run books to know what that sort of diagnosis process should be, bringing in some of that informal knowledge that lives in a ticket or isn't on a Zoom call. And then, of course, there's also this level of AI sensing, which is really leveraging that agentic capability to go out and search through the kind of all of the available data sources to be able to bring in things that are relevant to that incident at hand, surface that to an L1 or an L2 or a major incident manager to really help them to be able to, understand the complete impact and know what next steps that they should be taking. That again, you just simply do not get from a straight, alert or some sort of, change related data, some of that more machine level data. And that's really the foundation that we have built BigPanda's agentic IT operations platform on, is this idea of an IT knowledge graph and bringing in all of these different types of data sources, whether it's that machine data, but also the changes, those service desk tickets, those collaboration history or run books. There's a lot of really rich context that can be used, and it becomes effective when you're able to process it through that AI engine and surface it at the right time for the exact right use case of an L1 operator or an SRE or an L2 or a change manager. We're really here talking today about the AI Incident Assistant, and specifically this idea of sort of informal knowledge and knowledge that's, some of that tacit knowledge. But I just wanted to orient you to the platform as a whole. And so Travis is going to take over and talk a little bit more about tacit knowledge and its role in the AI Incident Assistant.
Thanks, Katie. Yeah, so when we think about tacit knowledge, right, it's this stuff that is not written down. It's the experience knowledge that gets built up over time that your teams have just from doing things day to day. They understand maybe this is the way something works. but no one's ever taken the time to write that into a knowledge base article or a run book. And this is really key, because when you're working incidents trying to resolve them, if you don't have that right person who happens to know that one bit of information, that slows down the entire incident resolution process. And so what we really want to do is be able to take that tacit knowledge and make it available to everyone in the organization, so that everyone has that same level of kind of collective intelligence to be able to know these things, quickly resolve issues, and you're not, running into roadblocks or trying to track down the right person who happens to know this one thing within your organization. And you see some examples here at the bottom, and these are just, simple examples of real things that people are running into across the board. And what we're able to do within Biggie is actually allow you to, one, Biggie's going to learn this tacit knowledge. So as people give Biggie feedback and information, Biggie's going to learn from that to realize, oh, there's a gap in my knowledge. What can I learn? What facts or new knowledge can I glean from this? And then essentially that can be approved or auto-approved, and then that goes back into Biggie's intelligence, so that in the future, Biggie understands these things, able to actually answer questions that in the past it couldn't, because it didn't have that knowledge. So it's getting smarter with you and with your organization, helping to improve the accuracy of the responses it gives, boost trust because it knows those key details, and also keeps that consistency that you want to see.
One thing I'll just point out, and I should have said this, the AI Incident Assistant is the official product name, and Travis is referring to it as Biggie, which is our informal, lovable name for the product, just to clear up any confusion.
Thank you, Katie. That's a good call out. So let's actually see what this looks like in the product. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen, and we'll just take a look at an example of this. All right, so let me adjust things so you don't see that. All right, so let's actually start with an incident that's happening. So we have an incident notification from our AI Incident Assistant, Biggie, and it's letting us know that, hey, we're having some sort of network outage in our Florida ATMs. Yeah.
Maybe me, but I don't know if the screen share is delayed. I'm seeing like half your Slack and half your.
Interesting. Is it better now, or still half and half?
Half and half for me. Cam, do you see it correctly? Okay, then I'll just.
All right. I'm going to keep going here. Hopefully everyone sees it besides Katie. So I've got this incident, and I'm going to start a major incident channel. There's something going on here, and I'm going to have Biggie help me work this issue and try to get it to a resolution here. So Biggie's going to spin up an incident channel for me to bring all the team together to start responding and addressing this issue. And so as Biggie's pulling that together, here it is. I've got my channel. It's kind of describing what's going on. And the first thing I want to do is start my agentic troubleshooting. So I'm going to tell Biggie, hey, start troubleshooting this issue. See if you can figure out what's happening in this. It's spinning up my bridge call. And we even have team members joining, right? So we've got folks joining the call. They're starting to talk about what's going on. And let's take a look here at what Biggie's going to find from a troubleshooting standpoint. And so right now, Biggie's looking across all of the ingested context that I've given Biggie. So all the past incidents, my runbooks, wikis, the things that I have documented really well to try to produce an answer to what's going on and help me address this. And so maybe in this case, I'm a senior network engineer, and so I'm just going to take a look and see, okay, what did Biggie find? And it walks through, hey, have we seen this before? When it's occurred, what happened? I've got incident IDs here, the teams and individuals who were involved, priority impact, so lots of great information. And at the end, Biggie actually shows me diagnostic remediation steps. So what can I actually do to try to resolve this? And so it's giving me specific commands and things that I can do from my SOPs and runbooks, that documentation. But maybe I realize as a senior network engineer, hey, there's something wrong here. Step 2, Biggie's telling me to go, do remote access into these routers and try pinging devices. And I know that actually we just made a change for security reasons, and we've locked down the team's abilities to actually access these, and they're not supposed to be doing that anymore. So I'm going to actually give Biggie feedback and say, hey, Biggie, that's great context, but when you told us to go kind of manually SSH in and ping things, direct access is now restricted, and the preferred method is actually to go through our Cisco DNA Center, our NMS, and just check reachability health metrics there. So I'm going to let Biggie know that and just say, hey, the context was wrong. And so now Biggie's going to take that information, and if we come over to here, and I'll just refresh my page, I now have this knowledge correction from Biggie. And in this case, I have things in my organization set up so that someone has to review and approve this. But you can also set this to auto-approve, and it'll immediately learn that new fact. But in this case, what did Biggie learn? Well, what it said is, okay, hey, the new knowledge that I have is that direct device access via SSH is no longer permitted, and the preferred current method to validate this is to actually reach out to my Cisco DNA Center and check that. And so I'm going to say that looks good. I'm going to approve that. And what's happening is Biggie's actually indexing and storing this within its knowledge base. So now it knows this information, and it's going to pull that up anytime it's relevant. And so if I came back here again, and I'm just going to click and ask Biggie to run my troubleshooting again. So Biggie's going to run the same troubleshooting output that we had previously. But what we're going to see now is that Biggie has taken that tacit knowledge, and it's going to find that new knowledge along with everything else. So it'll actually give me the updated steps that don't exist in my documentation anywhere. So we'll give this just a second as Biggie's fetching that information. And then we'll go and scroll down and take a look at those diagnostic remediation steps to see what does this look like now. And one thing I'll call out, let's see, so we can come up. Okay, so got all that. And so now we see here, it's not telling me to SSH in and ping anything. It's actually saying, hey, go use Cisco DNA Center to validate the current health and configuration of all the routers. Avoid direct SSH or ping per our latest policy. So it's actually taking that information, and now that's present so that, maybe I just knew that because we just implemented that. Now everyone has that same understanding and can make sure that we're actually following that information. And so with that, let me just come back in. And you do always have the ability, I'll just show this here, is you always have the ability to review this. So if I ever came back and said, hey, maybe our policy changed again in the future, et cetera, you can always change or reject these, and that'll remove it from the knowledge. So you have full control over the things that Biggie is learning within your organization, and the ability to go find it, search it, et cetera. So that way you, again, keep that full control and that transparency and visibility. So with that, let me come back over here to our slides. And so, all right. So we just kind of saw what that looked like. And so really, what did we see? Well, we saw in the demo that Biggie is able to learn directly from your feedback. It's able to pull that tacit knowledge out. And the power of that means that for your teams, they're able to have that same knowledge and understanding across the board. By capturing that, we're able to reduce some of the overhead, the operational overhead, continue to provide a good customer experience across your services. And we're really taking and providing that same collective intelligence to your entire set of teams, helping everyone to make smarter decisions across all the teams that are in your organization. That information becomes a part of the knowledge that Biggie has, so that anytime we're pulling from our kind of knowledge base data, any of the data sources we have, we're also looking for those knowledge corrections to make sure that we're providing the latest information or all the information that your team might need. And again, with all that information, as well as what I showed earlier, where you can always see and understand what's Biggie learned and you have control, all that helps to provide trust in AI and agentic capabilities so that you know what's happening. It's not a black box, right? You can understand how is Biggie getting here? How's it understanding these things? And all of this leads to, again, consistency. It gives your team the ability to have kind of efficient processes across the board. So with that, I want to pass things over to Cam, and Cam's really going to talk through how do you actually get started with Biggie. It's not this mythical thing. There's a journey and a process that Cam's going to walk through on how you start from nothing to kind of the full-blown Biggie implementation.
Thanks, Travis. Yes. So one of the most critical things that you're going to hear me repeat a lot is measure, measure, measure. Everything really has to be measured. And we find very often my team will come into all of our customers and run what we call life cycle alignments. And we do it for incident, we do it for major incident, we do it across change. But we're really trying to map out the process and then find out if we're measuring between each handoff point. And some of these are your standard MTT, X metrics, assign, resolve, innocence, those things. Those are all valid, but sometimes there's other parts of the process that are not being measured and that you can get more information on to start to understand what the impact is of each one of those handoffs and what's going to be best to attack, which we'll talk about here shortly. But when we're looking at collaboration, very often it is just getting the right people in the room. That takes time and effort, and it doesn't happen as quickly as you would like it to. When we're talking about investigation, that's usually the bulk of the process, where we're the first thing everybody does is go look at, was there a change? So now somebody's going and digging through change tickets to try to figure out what's actually going on. And was there a change? And they might skip right over something. If it was a network outage and they're an app guy, they're looking for app changes. They're not really looking for network changes. So they could go right past it. And automation could be anything from technical automation to, just updating the status of where the incident is inside of Teams or Slack, or doing that post-incident review, or creating even a knowledge article. So there's lots of opportunities for automation. And so those are the areas that you want to start looking at is, do I have all my measurements in place? Do I know what my process looks like? And oftentimes we find that we don't have the process completely mapped out. We know kind of the bigger pieces, but with the way that BigPanda comes in to do a deep dive with our consultants is really, we explore as deeply as we can. We like major incident management the best because it really exposes all the different handoff points, because they're the most critical incidents that are out there, less so than maybe a P3 or even a P4 that, it might not have a bunch of handoff points. So when we jump into major incident management, outline the whole thing, get our measurements, and then we will switch into determining what is the impact of the measurements. So when we design a use case, which could be one of those, an action plan basically in Biggie, where we say, we just want something to page everybody that should be on this incident, uh, build it, get a Slack channel going, fire up the Zoom bridge or WebEx bridge or whatever it may be that we just need to kick off. And from there, we've already solved a big chunk of the manual things that you might not even have a identified a person that's going to do that. Some organizations immediately declare a major incident manager, and that person is responsible for all the communication and getting everything together. And you can pretty much automate a ton of that using different parts of Biggie and action plans to get that collaboration together. Now, what is the impact of that is where we want to measure. If just getting on the bridge takes 20 minutes and we have 100 people on the bridge, as Katie mentioned, with, it costs a lot of money to have them there. They're not doing their work. You've got a service outage. All three of those things in 20 minutes can be huge numbers. We've seen massive numbers from some of the bigger customers. So just getting that out the gate and shaving off a few minutes for the collaboration, highly critical. But maybe you're good at that. Maybe you've got that going already. So it's not an area we need to jump right into, because maybe the investigation phase is what's really taking a long time for everybody to dig through changes, look at incidents, pull all of that data together. And you might be repeating yourself over and over again as you're bringing new people on the call. So, somebody jumps on, we have to explain the situation again. We've wasted 5-10 minutes. We're kind of back to that collaboration phase where that person can get up to speed inside of the Slack or the Teams channel, because Biggie's always keeping up with what's going on with that incident and kind of transcribing, and you can even ask it, what's the current status, and it will then tell you. So now we can compress that bridge call even further by not having to repeat ourselves, trying to make sure we have the right people on. And then when you talk automation, there's just lots of variability in automation. It's probably the biggest thing that you can really start to play with. Post-incident review, we see some cases between 4 and 8 hours to do a post-incident review of somebody's wasted time. maybe not completely wasted, but it's something that 4 to 8 hours, they don't want to do it. It's one of those painful things because the incident's resolved. We don't really want to go back and repeat everything that just happened and get it all figured out. Maybe we want to automate a problem ticket and put all the information in there so that somebody in the problem management team can go start looking at how do we prevent this from happening again. We get the post-incident review. All of that is basically compressing down time and reducing, it all comes down to money in the end. So the impact of each one of these processes is what we're going to try to target in PS, figure out, can we measure it effectively? And do we understand what the cost is of each one of those so that we can pick an area to go after and start making improvements? So measure, measure, measure is going to be the most critical thing. No more than just the standard MTT metrics. It's really the handoff between every decision box into your process change. If you don't have a measurement for it, is there a way to get it? Now, what we look at next is, what do you need for some of these capabilities? Now, with a lot of our customers, most all of our customers have ServiceNow and have our ServiceNow app, which means a lot of this is already available. And there's not a lot of additional context that we might need, maybe some, but getting out the gate is pretty easy to get started. And so when you're looking at managing incident bridges, you're going to need Slack and Teams, basically, or Slack or Teams, so that basically the incident commander role can start to be fulfilled, where it can start updating and doing everything that you saw in Travis's demo. Paging on-call teams, that's just, do we have access to X Matters and or a PagerDuty or even ServiceNow's on-call rota? Can we query those things and basically understand who should be on call and pull those people in relatively easily? When we're talking about summaries, that's just all of your ITSM data. So your postmortem, your summaries, and the ability to push all of this across multiple platforms becomes very easy. So you can also orchestrate some of this where it's sharing the same information in multiple places, so that everybody is informed, because maybe everybody doesn't work in Slack, or some people don't want to go into an ITSM tool to see what's going on. They do live in Slack. We can get all the information to the same place in about the same amount of time so that everybody's informed at the same time. So all of this, and this is just getting the surface of what you can possibly do. There are so many things that are capable here. And there's a number of other products that we aren't even going into in this that I'm sure we'll go into on other webinars. But this is really focused around, the incident assistant. But you could start to ask it questions, like if you wanted to know all of your incidents that came in as a critical and never even had a warning alert before them, if it was integrated with BigPanda's ADR system, we would start to understand that, and then be able to go get proactive on potential outages in the future, to say, why don't we have a warning sign for that we could have operationally fixed before it became a service impacting problem? So there's just lots and lots of opportunity. It's always going to come down to measuring, but after that, the sky's kind of the limit. So kind of wrap up PS and what we see here. Everything, it comes down to money. A lot of these are time, but time is money. And so when we talk about collaboration, we're trying to get rid of overhead. I talked through a series of Biggie action plans that are kind of individual components that make up an entire persona of an incident commander. And so Biggie can become an incident commander, doing all the things to get the right people in the room, keep everyone updated, wrap up the incident review at the end so somebody else doesn't have to. They just need to approve it and touch it up. And all of this is going to have an impact on my service availability and how much it costs to maintain those services, because that's what we just keep hearing. I need to keep my services up, and I want it to be cheaper than how we keep them up. And this basically can do that through either the reduction of overhead, protecting revenue so that customers have a good experience. All of the things you see on this page and many more are ways that AI and letting it get into your process wherever we can direct it and measure it and get full an actual metric to say, we reduce this from every bridge call from an hour and a half to 65 minutes, and we can quantify that relatively easily, just based on the number of metrics that are out there, on how much your services make, how much downtime costs. Almost everybody knows how much they're critical services cost when it's down. And sometimes it is rather staggering. So when we can apply that into these bridge calls with measurements, that's really what my team comes in and tries to do. And I also, a shameless plug for the RSA team. We have embedded consultants at BigPanda that can essentially kind of live with you throughout your life with BigPanda and just continually try to improve services and do measuring and be your guide and assistance through this whole thing. So with that, I will hand it back over to Katie.
Yes. Thank you, Cam. And thank you, Travis. What I hear both of you talking about is really this sort of way transformative value that, Biggie AI Incident Assistant can deliver for teams. And there's a lot of ways that you can use it, whether that is to sort of automate your major incident management processes, really to be able to supercharge or augment all those experts during the investigation phase, and then obviously, automate as much as possible. That can be sort of daunting to some of the folks that are listening here, but what I'm hearing from you, Cam, is there's multiple ways to kind of break this down to kind of figure out, focus on one to start, right? What is the top priority for you as an enterprise, or a top challenge that you're struggling with in your own major incident management process, and start there. You don't have to boil the ocean and jump right into the tacit knowledge that Travis is sharing. That's obviously extremely valuable, but there might be kind of use cases or data that you're kind of willing to start with first. And so the point being, there's a lot of flexibility. It's really, and as Cam was mentioning, our team will work with you, these enterprises to figure out where the opportunity is. If you just have a sense of sort of what your core challenges are, where are the areas that you're looking to improve, and then there will be a way that Biggie can help solve for that. So I think that flexibility is really key. And so, go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just going to completely agree.
Okay, cool.
Flexible, point to an area, and there's usually a way to help.
Yeah. So a couple things. We're coming to the end of our time here, so thank you all for joining. But a couple things that you can all do. I saw a couple questions coming in, and some of this is related. But I think if we have a mix of folks that are already familiar with BigPanda and using it. Cam, you mentioned our ADR AI detection and response platform solution. So if you're already a BigPanda customer and are interested in kind of exploring more, Travis only showed really a tiny bit of what this product looks like. We can do a full demo. We can start to talk about if you're interested in some sort of a POV. So connect with your account team if that's something you want to learn more about. If you are brand new to platform, welcome. We're happy to have you here. We would love to be able to show you the full end-to-end demo of what Biggie can do that is customized for whether you're on a Slack instance, Teams, what your sort of key ITSM platforms are, where your KBs are stored. We can customize all of that. So would love to kind of show that demo for you. We also have just finalized or closed out on a series of webinars that supported our new agentic IT operations platform. And so we have a number of those webinars that are available on our website. If you go there and check out our events page. So you can watch them whenever you want. You can share with whoever. There is one specifically on AI Incident Assistant that Travis did. So thank you, Travis. So feel free to check that out. And then I think the other thing you can just start to do is, think about your own incident management process at your organization, and where are some of the gaps that you're seeing, the main challenges, where do you see room for improvement? Having a sense of that going into a conversation with BigPanda will be extremely helpful. And our team that Cam runs will be part of that conversation and kind of help you figure out where Biggie can support. So those are just some takeaways for you as you close out today or walk away this afternoon. But thank you all for joining. We appreciate it. Cam, Travis, thank you for being here and sharing your insights. This has been fantastic. And to everybody, please enjoy the rest of your day. And we hope we're hearing from you soon. Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thank you.